Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Facebook Live chat. We will be hosting these sessions every Friday at 10 a.m. for the remainder of the pandemic to discuss some of these common themes that caregivers are experiencing through the pandemic. Today, we are planning to spend about 20 to 30 minutes on the topic of managing expectations. We invite you to ask questions in the comment section of this video, and we'll do our best to answer questions as we go. My name is Miranda, and I am one of the registered social workers on the Society support team.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cindy Bond. I'm the community educator with the Alzheimer's Society of Calgary. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yes.
We are live.
We are. I'm just pulling up the video so we can answer questions as we go.
Great. So today we're going to talk about managing expectations. Of course, all the topics that we've chosen so far have been a direct result of feedback and conversations that we've had with caregivers, basically one-on-one. So we thought it was very relevant to talk about it on Facebook Live. I think managing expectations is a big one for anyone who has a person living with dementia.
Absolutely. You know, when somebody is living with dementia or they're caring for somebody who's living with dementia, there's already so many uncertainties, right? And then you throw a pandemic on top of that, there's even more uncertainties to try and manage, right? So you're right, managing expectations is a hot topic during this time.
Yeah, because it definitely is a time of inconvenience. A lot of caregivers had a really great routine before the pandemic, and we know how important routine is for the person living with dementia. And yeah, things have really changed, and caregivers have really had to bend and explore different options, even for in-home care and everything we've talked about so far, right?
Right. Well, and even for people who are maybe just getting a diagnosis or just starting to look into resources as needs increase, those resources are limited right now, or they're changing to a more online version, which may or may not suit that individual.
Yeah, so those things are not in the control of the caregiver. So managing expectations, I think, is taking control of what you can and managing your expectations around that, and knowing, cutting yourself slack as a caregiver. I think caregivers are pretty hard on themselves at times.
Yeah.
And recognizing that they are doing the best that they can is so important.
Absolutely. You know, and I often will tell caregivers that if they were to write out a list of all of the things that they're doing great, it would likely far surpass the list of things that maybe didn't pan out so well.
Yes. And I think looking at what went well as opposed to, oh, I did that wrong all the time is not healthy. It's really not healthy. It's just, you're doing the best you can. And part of what you had planned worked out really well, or you responded really well, or maybe it was a time where, you took a deep breath and didn't get angry. Or frustrated, right?
Exactly. And going along with not expecting perfection from yourself, it's also not expecting perfection from the person you're caring for, right? People with dementia have good days and bad days, and good moments and bad moments as well.
Yeah, that fluctuation in cognition can be confusing for caregivers. I know, Miranda, we've had conversations about sometimes caregivers are just that, they're confused because one minute their caregiver seems to understand, or their person rather seems to understand and can follow instruction, and then all of a sudden that changes.
Yeah.
And we hear things like, he's manipulating me, or they're playing a game, or
he's faking it.
Like, what the heck is going on? And Yes, it's very normal for someone living with dementia to have those lucid moments, and
Mhm.
is it?
Absolutely. And very common for a care partner to have those feelings, right? Of
Absolutely.
confusion and uncertainty around that fluctuation.
Yeah, because yeah, it can change like that, right? We hear those stories. I think that's a great segue into it's important for caregivers to learn about the disease, to know what's normal, recognizing that no two people are the same, even if you learn about the disease, but it gives you some framework or some guidance to know, okay, this isn't normal. This isn't typical of an Alzheimer's type of dementia. This looks like something else. So
Right.
that as well.
Yeah. It is, of course, important, like you said, when you've seen somebody living with dementia, you have seen one person living with dementia, right? Every journey looks very different. But you're right, there's so many different types. In fact, there's more than 50 different types of dementia, and all of them look somewhat similar, but have many differences as well. So it's important. I think education is the foundation for all of this, right? The more you know, hopefully, the better you're going to do.
Yes. At the same time, I remember quite some time ago, I had a caregiver come in and see me, and she said, I read every book I could possibly get my hands on to find out or learn more about Alzheimer's, because her husband was diagnosed with Alzheimer's type of dementia. And she said, now I just wait for the other shoe to drop. Like, he is not fitting the mold of anything I've read. So, like, is that going to happen? Is he going to forget who I am? When am I going to wake up one morning? So I think managing your expectations around the education piece as well is important, because like we've said, no two people are the same, and you can read every book out there, and your person isn't going to fit that exact mold of any of those books that you've read, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the same goes for the strategies, right? You can have 20 strategies in your pocket, and none of them might work on a particular day, or what worked 5 minutes ago is no longer working now.
Yeah.
So managing expectations is great, but that's a continuous process, right? It's constantly managing expectations and adapting to the situation before you.
Yes. I often say to caregivers, dementia, I equate is like a dance. If your person has dementia, regardless of type, they lead, we follow. And we just, yeah.
That's a great analogy.
If memory there's a lapse in memory in that moment, then we become their memory keepers. If there's a lack of attention in another moment, we, minimize distraction. It's a constant dance, and it's exhausting. It is truly exhausting. I know both of us have a personal connection to somebody that was close to us, right, that has dementia. So I think, we get it. It is exhausting. Yeah.
Well, and that ties nicely into the fact that you have to manage expectations of yourself as well, right? And we touched on that in terms of trying not to expect perfection from yourself, right? It's one thing to say that you need to continuously adapt and do the dance, but sometimes it's okay if you can't do that one day as a care partner, right? If you need an extra 5-minute break.
Right? Yeah. Or hide out in the bathroom.
Yes.
I think it's a
go-to place.
that was my go-to place. Even raising my kids, when I needed a timeout, it was yeah. But I think grief too definitely plays a part, right? Where grief is very fluid. It's not linear. It's a cycle. Their loss is the caregiver's loss. The person living with dementia's loss is the care partner's loss.
Yeah.
And that's what we call ambiguous grief, which is a whole other chat. But just knowing that you are grieving, so, and you might be okay, and then all of a sudden you're not okay. That happens as well.
Yeah. Well, and just an encouragement to be kind to yourself, and not just to be kind to yourself, but to be kind to yourself as you would to a stranger or someone you love, right? It's a really hard process. And that's not to say there's not moments of joy and happiness, chances to create memories, but there's a lot of losses. So be kind to yourself as a care partner on this journey.
Yeah, that's really, really important. I think that knowing your limits as well is important. Doing that self inventory. How are you feeling? Not only just in the morning, but throughout the day, just checking in. And are you tired? I know our team, our learning and support team, is really good at, how are you doing today? How are you doing now? How's your afternoon going? Whereas caregivers don't often have that. Their person doesn't ask them. No one does, maybe. So that checking in and seeing how you are feeling is really, really important.
Yeah. Well, and keeping in mind that doctors are available during this time, as well as counselors, the Alzheimer's Society.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do need someone to speak to, please reach out, get that support, and talk to your doctors about what's changed for you, particularly with this pandemic. That's one of the questions we're really trying to ask everybody that we talk to, is what has changed since the pandemic started? And that opens up a lot of discussion.
It does. And I think that's such an important question when we're looking at the progression or potential progression. What has changed? And really talking to a health professional or us definitely is an option, or a counselor, and saying, this is what has changed and I'm having a hard time, or is this normal? Even that question, right? Because it is a progressive disease. Dementia is progressive.
Yeah.
Things change, sometimes very slowly, but other times it can seem quickly as well. So behavior has meaning, we say in dementia care. What is that behavior conveying? Is there something else going on? Or is the person having a bad day, like you had said, Miranda, which we all do?
Right. And that's just it. A behavior is a response to an unmet need or a feeling, right?
Yeah, that's very important. And going back to managing expectations, I think whatever the caregiver is doing with their person, just enjoying the moment. I always say that if there is a gift to dementia, it is that we need to live in the moment with the person. I think we don't do that a lot, living in the moment. I know caregivers, you've got a lot on your plate and it's all these balls are in the air, right? I have to do this, this, and this, and this. And sometimes it's hard to be in the moment with your person. So we say the journey, not the destination.
Yes.
Activity, right? Try and enjoy.
And it's a huge time of inconvenience, but how can we get creative? There's actually a question in our comment section around that I'd like to read.
Okay.
So one of the questions is, what are the options for a caregiver who is not comfortable using online programs and services at this time?
I assume they mean other ways to connect or other things to do.
Yeah. I think
Perhaps.
that's the option, because there are a lot of online resources in
There
terms of
is.
education, groups that are meeting. But if you're not comfortable using online services, it is of course limited at this time, particularly for subsidized or government funded programming, because they're not sending people into homes.
Yes.
But if you're comfortable over the phone, like I said, the Alzheimer's Society, there's 4 social workers that are ready to take your call at any time and talk to you one-on-one, give you some ideas for activities, things of that nature. So we're doing what we can.
Sorry, Miranda, I cut you off. We have lots of resources around activities. I think that's a great segue, whoever that was with that question, to talk about some positive things that can come out of this time of self-isolation. We're hearing wonderful ideas, what caregivers are doing. One family expressed the idea that what they do, because they can't see their dad who is living in a care home right now as often as they would like to, they share their moments, they capture them on film.
Oh, wow.
So the example they used is a hike on Nose Hill, and they took pictures of the family and the views, and they shared that. And I thought, what a great idea. The person they can't take out, unfortunately, to do a hike, but they can share those moments with their person. And they're those disposable cameras, so their person can keep the actual pictures.
Oh, great.
Yeah, some are starting to create photo albums of their adventures, sunrises, sunsets, robins, eggs, and nests. There's been pictures of that. I know if you were at my house, you could take pictures. I have a set of mallards that come to the feeder every day. So like just those kind of moments to share, I think is very creative.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that just ties back into managing the expectations around what your person is able to do in terms of activities, right? And you just adjust and adapt to that ever-changing situation. That's a wonderful example. So I'm just looking, we've got another question here.
Okay.
The question says, I have friends who have their person in care, and they always seem really frustrated with the care their person is getting. How can I help them manage their expectations of care staff?
Oh, great question.
That's a great question.
Great question. I think in order to support the person around managing those expectations, finding out exactly what care staff are able to do, and asking those questions of, why can't they do more? And trying to figure that out, or maybe even work with the care team or the care staff to figure out ways that they can connect more often or provide more care in creative ways. But I think don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah. And remember that you're the expert on your person, right? So maybe if you have some time, fill out a life story document, answering some questions about who your person is, their likes, dislikes, some history on them, and providing that to the care home with some specific examples of what they might be able to do to help go a little bit above and beyond during this time. And it doesn't have to be a big production. It could be playing your person's favorite song while they give them a bath, right? So just every care home is managing differently during this time. And of course, it's more difficult when you can't go in and see your person and make sure that the care is meeting your standard. But a good point is no one's going to take care of your person as well as you do, right?
That's just, Yes, I think that's such a great point. I know when we were doing caregiver strategies, back when I was doing caregiver strategies, we had questions about that or comments about that. And I think that's very true that you have to ask the care team how you as the family member can help them provide awesome care or great care for their person at this time. What and working as a team, definitely.
Yeah. Right. So there's quite a few questions today, which is wonderful.
Okay, great.
So let's see if we can answer a couple more of these. I'm just cognizant of the time. We've got about 9 minutes left and a few questions to go. So another question is, how can a caregiver help a person with dementia practice safe hygiene at home? Well, that's going to look different to everybody.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So that is a very individual question to be asking because you not only have to take in consideration the person living with dementia and what they're able to do, what they're comfortable doing, but also the caregiver, right? Not everybody is going to be able to help with transfers or safely help their person in a bath. So that's a very specific question, I think.
In terms of hand washing, those kind of hygiene, brushing teeth, washing hands, washing face.
Oh yeah, that might be more what the question centered around.
Well, it could be as complex as a bath as well, right? Or a sponge bath or a pericure. But if it's more around brushing teeth, hands, I think doing with, great if you can do that. So it, doing it together. Also, there's great resources online. It's called Printable Teachers Resources. You can Google it. And it has pictures of hygiene. So as a cue or a reminder, there's a picture of hand washing and you say, do for 40 seconds or recite the alphabet, or so visual cues can help with that as well.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing it with your person, right? Sometimes when people are living with dementia, they may experience difficulty with sequencing. So maybe they don't know how to turn on the tap to the right temperature, get the soap, all those different steps that are involved in hygiene. So doing it with or offering, just standing by to assist if necessary, giving verbal cues, yeah, those can all be really helpful. So another question would be, can we review some tips for caregivers with insufficient or inadequate sleep during night care with somebody who's living with dementia?
Could you read that again? Sorry.
Yeah, can we view some tips for caregivers with insufficient or inadequate sleep during night care with somebody who's living with dementia? So it sounds like the caregiver's not getting a good night's sleep during this time. I'm not sure if it's the person living with dementia is not sleeping through the night, or maybe it's stress or anxiety that's keeping the caregiver up.
All behavior has meaning, including our own. So if the caregiver is unable to sleep, what's happening for them? So doing that self-inventory. If it's not happening for the person who's living with dementia, what's the trigger? Are they not getting enough exercise? Are they not getting enough natural light throughout the day that sets our circadian rhythms? Are they waking up because they think it's 5 a.m. and it's actually, or 5 p.m. and it's only 5 a.m.? So like it could be blackout curtains, it could be that the person is up through the night, both caregiver and the person living with dementia, going to the bathroom, getting up to urinate is very common, and fall back to sleep, right?
Yeah. Maybe they're hungry, they're waking up hungry, but waking up a little earlier than the caregiver would like. So keeping some snacks by the bed that are easily accessible might be helpful.
Yeah, so I don't know if that answers the question or not, but we're certainly here. Our social worker is, you can live chat as well. So I hope that gives them some ideas. Is there another question?
There is. There's one more question, and we definitely have time to answer it. So the question is, how can you better connect when your person can no longer have a two-way fluid conversation? Conversations have been more question and answer style. It's hard to talk about things you normally would with your spouse.
Yes, good question. I think there comes a time for some, and it sounds like it's come for this person, where the onus is on the caregiver to talk. That doesn't mean the person that they're talking to doesn't understand, but they may not be able to communicate back that understanding. Something that we're not really good at as a species in general is talking about ourselves. So yeah, just talking about what the plan is for the day. Is that person able to respond, like cues? Are they nodding? Are they indicating with their eyes maybe that they understand more than they can verbalize? I think connecting with emotions is very, very important. So reminiscing and that's, sharing that smile, that favorite vacation, or look at the picture of our grandchildren. This is Joey and he's 7 in this picture. So connecting.
Yeah, I really like the idea of using a tool with the conversation, because you're right, it can be hard, especially if you live with your person or you're calling them every day. Maybe there's not too much more to share about yourself. So using a tool, like you said, photo albums, it gives you something to keep that conversation going with.
Yes. Or if you're calling the person, having a theme around, like, plan ahead for that conversation. And yeah, like you say, connecting emotionally. If they're having a hard time understanding, is there someone else there that can help them? And it could be just a fun time. So for example, Miranda, you call me, you're my daughter, I have dementia and my husband is with me. And maybe it's just a game we play, name 4 words that start with B, and we laugh, and I don't understand or can't communicate, but it's that
energy,
feeling, right?
Yeah, that emotional contagion is there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually had a family that I was speaking to over the phone yesterday, and one of the individuals on the call sang me 2 songs. So getting creative.
Very creative. I love music and singing, and it's such a great way to connect. Mm-hmm. Great way.
So we're almost at 10:30 here, but there's one other question that I'd really like to get to before we close up. So we'll just go a little bit over today. Okay. So the question, it's back on the sleep topic.
Okay.
Another caregiver or viewer, I should say, has asked, caregiver is not getting enough sleep because partner with dementia does not sleep well, and they are afraid that he will wander out of the room. Okay, so staying up. So the caregiver's not getting enough sleep. It sounds like due to some stress and fear that the person's going to be leaving the room. So just some strategies that may be helpful that are low in cost would be maybe putting jingle bells on the bedroom door, right? That way you will be awoken if your person leaves the room. would be one idea. Another idea would be making a sleep routine at night, right? So maybe you're brushing your teeth together, you're brushing your partner's hair, singing a song. Maybe you've got a lavender diffuser, those types of things, and really coming up with a really lovely routine before bed that is calming might help the person sleep a little bit better through the night, and also relax the caregiver as well, so that hopefully they're in a better state of mind to fall asleep.
Like those suggestions. We don't have time to go through them all, but if the person wants to Google sleep hygiene, it's called. So it's setting up that routine, a cool room, for example, a dark room, eliminating cell phones, iPads.
The light.
That's right. Those kind of things as well can be helpful. So sleep hygiene, Google that. And then also like what's happening throughout the day. Is the person, what's the trigger? Is it they're getting up to go to the washroom and then they can't go back to sleep? So, maybe limiting liquids after 7 if you're going to bed at 10. Yeah, there's
get enough activity during the day, right? Are they tired out by the time it's time for bed? Or is their mind still active? They're ready to go? Are they sleeping too much during the day and therefore not sleeping at night?
Yes, all those things play a really big role.
Yeah. So, and any other questions, I'll do my best to answer in the comment section. By the end of my day, I'll answer any additional questions. So please, if you have them, it's never too late to ask them or to give us a call if you want to talk one-on-one about any of those questions.
For sure. I think that wraps it up. I know there was a few other points we wanted to make, and I just want to end it on a very positive note for caregivers. Pat yourselves on the back. It's an unprecedented time. You're doing the job of a lot of people right now, because we say dementia care takes a village. So get creative if you need ways or suggestions, or just have a further conversation on how to get creative and manage those expectations. We're always here, a phone call away. That's not going to change. But I want to thank everyone for watching. Next week's topic is going to be about safety. And I am doing a webinar on June 11th about safety as well. So check that out. Call to speak to a social worker one-on-one at 403-290-0110. Send an email to info@alzheimercalgary.ca. So that's on our website, or again, live chat with Lindsay. She's waiting for your call, a social worker. Our website is www.alzheimercalgary.ca. And please like and share this video. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, take care. Bye.